So the path. After I left the monastery and continued on in these things, I continued reading sermons and reading commentaries on Eckhart, and little by little it began to form in me an understanding of Eckhart's teachings. And it's this understanding that is formed in me that I'm sharing with you here in these reflections. This is what I understand Eckhart to be saying, and I believe is true to the spirit of what he's saying. So this then is our retreat here together with Meister Eckhart, this sharing together these teachings of an awakening path and how we might draw from it in living our life. I'd like to say here too about sources. I'm not going to intrude on the retreat nature of these reflections by quoting the different sources of the sermons of Meister Eckhart. This first quote is from the Complete Mystical Works of Meister Eckhart, translated by Maurice O.C. Walsh, which again you'll see like all the other references here, you'll see there on the website. And this is the first paragraph, the first two sentences of the second paragraph of the first sermon in the collected sermons of Meister Eckhart. The first four sermons are Advent sermons. They're sermons that he gave during the liturgy in the season of Advent, preparing for the celebration of the birth of Christ. And he's reflecting on this mystical understanding of Christ's birth. So this is how he begins his first sermon. He's speaking now at Mass, in Advent, at the liturgy, and says, "Here in time, we are celebrating the eternal birth, which God the Father bore and bears unceasingly in eternity. Because the same birth is now born in time, in human nature. St. Augustine says, 'What does it avail me that this birth is always happening, if it does not happen in me? That it should happen in me is what matters. We shall therefore speak of this birth, of how it may take place in us, and be consummated in the virtuous soul, whenever God the Father speaks his eternal word in the perfect soul. For what I say here is to be understood of the good and perfected man, who has walked and is still walking in the ways of God. Not the natural, undisciplined man, for he is entirely remote from and totally ignorant of this birth. There is a saying of the wise man, and this is from the Book of Wisdom, 'When all things lay in the midst of silence, then there descended down into me from on high, from the royal throne, a secret word.' This sermon is about that word." I'd like to reflect on this passage. Notice that in this passage there are two aspects.
I read once in this book written by this wise, gentle, spiritual psychic, she mentioned that the manger, the metaphor of Jesus being born in the manger, and the animals were talking, is once we connect with our love, our soul, our Christ-like nature, then all of our animals, all of our instincts, those base parts, are aligned. Oh my God.
There's a quote we can preach on Sunday, and you're just sitting there like, what I'd like to do here is I'd like to look closer at this vision. So here's the vision. And you can either do this literally if you want. I think visually, so it helps me to do this. Or you can just kind of in virtual reality, just kind of listen to it, kind of visualize it. This mystical worldview is the horizon in which the path of spiritual awakening appears. And this vision can be represented as a circle. So you can take a blank sheet of paper, and at the bottom of the sheet of paper, just a little to the left of center, start to draw a circle. It's going to go around the whole circumference of the paper. So you're going to start at the bottom, just a little to the left of center. You're going to start curving upwards, heading about midpoint to the left margin of the paper. You're going to start curving upwards, up towards the very top of the paper, where it'll arc over, and start heading down the other side, heading towards midpoint of the right margin of the paper, and then heading back down again, back to the bottom, and stop just a little to the right of center, so that there's a little gap between where the circle began and where the circle ended. The beginning of the circle is going to represent what Meister Eckhart calls the ground of God. Sometimes in Aquinas, there's something very similar referred to here as the divine nature. This is God is utterly transcendent. God is utterly hidden. God is ineffable. It's the deepest depths of the depths of God. The deepest depths of the depths of God. It's a bottomless abyss, a bottomless depth of God. And this is where we start. And where we're going to end up here, at the ending of the circle, just to the right there at the bottom, is the ground of your soul. The ground of your soul. And the ground of your soul is the deepest depths of the depths of yourself. And the discovery that we're moving towards here is this incredible discovery that God's ground is your ground, and your ground is God's ground.
Oh, Meister Eckhart, we're all part of God. And he said that during, the medieval times. Oh my God.
There's a word that Eckhart uses. He doesn't use it a lot, but it's a very important word. It's the word galazonite. And the word galazonite is translated in different ways as being released, as letting go. In the word galazonite, you see the word lazen, like the word lazy. And we might say, taking a light touch to all of this, is that the intuition here is that God's very laid back about being God. God's so laid back about it. God's so lazen. God's so released about being God, that God gives being God away as the reality of your life. More than that, God gives the deepest depths of the depths of God away as the deepest depths of the depths of yourself. And the whole of the spiritual life, Eckhart, is finding our way to the ground. That is, if we think of God as generosity,
Finding our way back.
that the generosity of the infinite is infinite, and we are the
God is generosity. Oh my God.
Generosity of God. This is where Eckhart's trying to take us. And so the vision then is the circularity of this vision. Let's say we're looking at a stained glass window, like a rose window, like a circular window in a cathedral. It's more like a kaleidoscope. Ever look at a kaleidoscope and you turn it, and all the chips of colored glass move? It's like a moving kaleidoscope with a kind of an eloquence of infinite generosity. And Eckhart's trying to open up this vision to us as the context in which the path appears. So in the ground of God, then beginning with the ground. And again, these are kind of the poetics of reality, just listening to it. And as we refer to this again and again and again, it'll come more and more into focus as a spiritual worldview that's the context for the path. So first, then, bearing witness to the ground. The ground of God is silent, that no word is spoken there. And the silence of the Godhead, it's not the silence that's in kind of dynamic tandem with speech, such as speech and silence. This is a silence deeper than all silence. This is eternal, infinite silence. In the Godhead is stillness. There's no movement there. Nothing happens in the Godhead. And the stillness of the Godhead.
I'll stop there. Meister Eckhart. Meister Eckhart. Audiobook by Living Wisdom by, oh my God. I'll post it. Thanks for listening.